So welcome, sir. Sir, welcome you, sir. Namaste, sir.
Namaste. How are you all? Good. Hello.
Fine, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible as well as visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I was trying about that. All right.
सर आपके फ्रेंड को बेटी की ज्वाइन की है सर?
लास्ट ईयर, ये अभी फर्स्ट ईयर में है।
नहीं सर, वो ज्वाइन करने के लिए बोल रहे थे ना सर, आईडी दिए सर उनको।
हाँ, मैंने आईडी दिया है। पता नहीं वो ज्वाइन करेगी कि नहीं, क्योंकि उनकी कॉलेज का भी कुछ ऑनलाइन क्लासेस था, तो वो बोल रही थी कि क्लासेस का टाइम क्या है वो देख के ज्वाइन करेगी। आई डोंट नो, मैंने लिंक दिया है उसको, लिंक दिया है।
ओके सर, इसलिए कॉल किया था सर मैं आपको।
अच्छा, हाँ, नहीं, मैंने लिंक दिया उसको।
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
ओके। हाँ।
कनोड़े सर?
या
नहीं सर, इधर हमारे स्टाफ के लिए इंट्रोड्यूस कनोड़े सर।
ओके।
नमस्ते सर।
नमस्ते
Sir, meet my one of the colleagues, sir. Pony has to introduce them. Dr. G.N. Kannoli, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Namaste. Oh,
And also my staff, Dr. V. Gowder, sir, lecturer in the department of Samhita Siddhanta,
okay, fine.
and Ulli madam, and Dr.
Okay.
V.H. Kratti.
Right. All the names are there in the
And
WhatsApp message.
now they are joining, sir.
Yes. Okay. Right.
And Sanskrit in Dr. Srimati Rupa madam.
Okay. Sanskrit. Okay. Fine. A full-fledged department with all staff.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's fine. So how many students? How many seats are there in PG?
5 seats, sir.
Three
5
seats.
seats. Five seats.
Five seats.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes, sir.
That's very bad.
In our college, Kaya Chikitsa Panchakarma, Shalya Shalakya, Prasuti and Siddhanta. 6 departments will be there in PG, sir.
Okay, 6 departments.
Each
Each have 5 seats.
each department 5 seats.
Each department have 5 seats. That's nice. And exactly how much far this college from Bengaluru?
485 kilometers, sir.
About 500. Okay.
Near to 500, sir.
Okay. And that's fine. Because I have visited only Bengaluru in the Karnataka, nothing else place. So I know only the Bengaluru, and I want to see about but Bengaluru is in my center point, and I can say, okay, this is north to Bengaluru, there is south to Bengaluru, this is west to Bengaluru.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Just few more minutes we are waiting, sir. Students are entering that now.
No problem. I'm just for a few minutes I'm switching off my video. I'm just setting my presentation in that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
For 1 minute. Okay.
Recording on ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರ Good afternoon to all. Now Dr. Ulli Madam will introduce about the sir, Dr. Hitesh Vyas sir.
So very good afternoon to one and all. So it is immense pleasure to introduce Vaidya Hitesh Vyas, Professor, Department of Basic Principles, IP, GTRA, Jamnagar. So sir has completed their UG and PG. And sir has teaching experience about 2 years and 6 months in UG level and 19 years experience in a postgraduate teaching. And sir has worked as an in-charge principal in the Maharshi Patanjali Institute of Yoga and Naturopathy Education Research, Jamnagar for 2 years, worked as a coordinator for WHO CC for traditional medicine for 3 years, worked as a in-charge deputy hospital superintendent in Jamnagar Hospital for 1 year and working as in-charge head department of Swastha Rukta, Jamnagar. So also sir has guiding research experience for six students and MD thesis for more than 30 students, and sir has a more than 65 research papers published as a principal author and co-author in peer-reviewed national and international index journal, and sir has more than 75 guest speeches and keynote addresses delivered in various reorientation programs, CMEs, seminars as well as workshop. And presently sir is working as a professor in the Department of Basic Principles, IPGTRA, Jamnagar. So today's topic of the sir topic is Chaturvida Pariksha and their clinical importance. So thank you sir, over to you sir.
Thank you very much, madam.
Sir,
Yeah.
please, sir.
Okay.
So, sorry for the disturbance, sir. Just given the welcome, sir. Please.
Okay.
It is misconvening regarding about the. Please, sir. Don't make mistakes, sir.
No problem. No problem. That's okay.
Om Sri Guru Basavaliнгaya Namaha. Pranam to Sri Manipura Manta and Guru Manta Swamiji. Heartily welcome to the Samprabodhana 2020. I welcome today's guest of the speaker, Vaidya Hitesh Vyas sir, professor in the Department of Basic Principle, Jamnagar, Gujarat. Heartily welcome to the you sir on the behalf of management, principal sir, staff and UG and PG scholars of our institution. And also heartily welcome to those who take the participation of the other colleges, the staff members, students and PG scholars. Heartily welcome to the one and all. Today is the session, the second day, the second day of the Samprabodhana 2020. So once again, I'll over to the Dr. Vaidya Hitesh Vyas sir, start the topic on Chaturvida Pariksha sir. Thank you sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Don't make mistakes sir, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, all of you, and all the participants. I'm audible.
Audible sir.
You can hear my voice clearly, na? Okay.
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, madam, for a long introduction of myself. Actually, in short, I can say that though I have worked on the various posts, but still I'm a student of Ayurveda, student of basic principles, because this is the subject one cannot learn fully throughout his life. So I'm also a student of this subject with you, just senior, the student with some gray hairs, student with some more age, but we all are the student of Ayurveda. So with this, let us start today's presentation, that is Chaturvida Pariksha. So over to presentation now. As you know, that Pariksha is one of the important aspect in the clinical practice. Not only the clinical practice, if you say that we are living in the universe where there is the endless informations, endless things which may be the subject of knowledge around us. There may be some beautiful trees, maybe some very intelligent things. So we are living in the world of informations. We are living in the world of knowledge, we can say. So we have the endless articles and endless knowledge around us. And we have to discriminate that which among this knowledge is true, which among this knowledge is false. If, as you know, all of you are, I think, using the internet very frequently or daily, on the daily basis, and there are Niagara Falls of information on the internet. If you are just opening one of the browser, either it is Yahoo or it is Google or it is somewhere a browser or the search engine, and you can get the information of damn any subject of the world. But is all those things are true? Whatever you are reading in the newspapers, whatever you are seeing on the internet, so maximum you can say are false. Some of this may be true, but the majority part are the false, or it is of someone's own belief which they have posted. So to know the truth is our ultimate need. What is exactly the thing are, how the thing are going on, what is the exactly situation. These are the things which is very much necessary for a person to live peacefully. So to know the truth about everything, truth about the universe, truth about our planet Earth, truth about our environment, truth about ourselves, everything are very much necessary to know, and to know the truth is the ultimate aim of philosophy, any of the philosophy. Either it is Indian philosophy or it is the Western philosophy, either it is the Sankhya philosophy or it is Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy or it is Vedanta philosophy. All the philosophies are nothing but to understand the different theories, to understand the truth. So this is, I'm sorry, but I'm listening my own voice. So someone have unmuted her microphone. So please mute your microphone.
Okay, sir. Okay, right? Sir. I'll tell you.
Yeah, but because I'm listening my own voice there. Okay, so what are the tools to discriminate the true and false things? Because there are endless things, and we don't know what is true and what is false. So we must have some tools which can differentiate among the true and false, or which we can use some sense, some tools, some ways and means to discriminate the false and true kind of knowledge. So epistemology, that is Pramana Vigyan, is a science of correct knowledge. They guide us to examine the things, and Pramana, that is Pariksha, the word used in the Ayurveda, is the tool for the true knowledge, that what is exactly true. So like another sphere of life, also in the field of Ayurveda, various stages where the correct knowledge is required. Our ultimate goal is a healthy society, always. So we have to cure the diseases, we have to preserve the health. For that, we need the true knowledge of the diseases, true knowledge of the human body, true knowledge of the human psychology, everything. So at in the Ayurveda, we need the true knowledge on every step of our act, whether we are diagnosing the patient, whether we are treating the patient, whatever we are doing, whatever we are going to do, we need the true knowledge for that. Without that kind of true knowledge, we can't treat the patient. Even we can't know the exact situation of the patient, that what exactly is going on in the body of the patient. One example, if a patient coming to us with a headache, a simple headache, we must know the true cause of that headache. It may be migraine, it may be tension headache, it may be due to some tumor in the head, it may be just due to constipation. There are many causes of headache. So we must know what exactly the true cause of that headache, and without the knowledge of that particular cause, we can't treat such kind of headache. So this is an example, a small example. So at every step of our act, we need the true knowledge, and for that, we have to use some of the tools, some of the means and ways to know the things. Maharishi Charak in Mimamsan 4 says that Jnana Buddhi Pradipena yo na vishati tattvavid aturasya antaratmanam na sa rogan shikisati. If you don't have the knowledge enlightened by your own intellect, you cannot treat the patient. You must have the knowledge enlightened by your own intellect. So this is the importance of the true knowledge, and every knowledge, either true or false, every knowledge has 4 components. We can say these are the 4 components. This is Prama, Prameya, Pramata and Pramana. I think all of you are very much known or be familiar with these words. Still, let us try to define this 4. Prameya, that is the subject or object to be known. Whatever the subject of knowledge, it may be a dravya or as a thing, it may be a property, it may be some physiological or the pathological process, many things. All those are prameya because they are the subject of knowledge. Prama, that is true knowledge, the real knowledge of object is known as Prama. Pramata, the knower who gets the knowledge. That is the person, or the more than the person, we can see the later slide, who is achieving the knowledge is Pramata, and the Pramana or the Pariksha, what we are going to discuss today, there is ways and means for the knowledge or tools of the knowledge are known as Pramana, or in Ayurveda it is said as Pariksha. So Ayurveda, you can see that Ayurveda word is made by 2 words, Ayu and Veda. According to the definition of Ayu, it has the 4 components, Sharira, Indriya, Sattva and Atma. Among these 4, 3 components, that is Sharir, Indriya and Sattva, are the Prameya or the object for the knowledge. We have to know about Sharira and the entire Sharira. We have to know about Indriya. We have to know about Mana or Sattva. And who will know all these things? Atma. Jnanadi Karanam hi Atma. Atma is the Adhikaran of Jnana. So the Atma is Pramata or the knower. Every knowledge, whether it is comes to me or whether it comes to you or whether it comes to Sir, ultimately the Atma is the thing which gets the knowledge. And the word Ved means Jnana, that is Prama. So Prameya is there, Prama is there, Pramata is there. And for getting this Prama, we have to use Pramana. So let us know something about Pramana. We have 3 main ways and means for knowledge. That is information, direct perception and inference. Information, whatever you are getting from any of the source, either it is from your teachers, it is from your books, it is from the internet, it may be your parents, from everywhere. This is the primary source of knowledge. When we are in the stage of very small age, when we were the kids, we have the only one source of information, knowledge, that was information from our parents, information from our teachers. They taught us that this is A, this is 1. Now we can say that, oh, I know much more English. But the primary question that why this particular shape is known as A, or why this particular shape is B. So this is because my teacher said that this is A and this is B, A for apple, B for ball. I have learned it, and my teacher said this is the only answer. And I know this is A or I know this is B because of my teachers, because of my parents. So it is a very primary source, and in ancient words, it is known as Aptopadesha. The second important source is direct perception. Many things we learn from our sense organs, from our eyes, from our nose, from our ears. We are listening many things, we are seeing many things, and that kind of information we are getting that, okay, the fire is hot, the ice is cold, everything, very simple things. This kind of knowledge we are getting with direct perception, which is known as pratyaksha in Ayurveda or in the ancient philosophy. And the third one is the imagination or inference. Many things we are imagining by ourselves, like, okay, if this is one and if this is something, so the result will something like this. We predict something, and the prediction or the inference is one another and very important source of information or knowledge, which is known as Anuman. So this three has been enlisted or has been considered as the principal ways and means of knowledge: Aptopadesha, Pratyaksha, and Anumana. And majority of the ancient philosophy, Indian philosophy, accepted these three as the chief ways and means or the chief pramana for the getting knowledge. Many other pramanas are there which are being accepted by different philosophies, but these three are the principal things, and Ayurveda accepted these three as the ways to get the knowledge of disease. In the Charak Samhita Vimanstan 4th chapter, Trividha Roga Vishesha Vigyaniyam, these three are the source of knowledge for the disease. In the Sutrasthana, one more praman has been accepted. In the Sushruta Samhita, one more praman has been accepted. But all these things are circulating around these three. So these three are the main ways and means of knowledge: Aptopadesha, Pratyaksha, and Anumana. Coming to word pramana, be clear that Ayurveda has not used word pramana in the meaning of Aptopadesha, Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, etc. The meaning of pramana in Ayurveda is quite different. It is used in the meaning of measurements, whether it is Anguli pramana, whether it is Anjali pramana, what may be. So Ayurveda used word pariksha for this, but in the ancient philosophy, in the Darshan Shastras, it is used as pramana. So the word pramana is derived from dhatu or root word pra with upasarga ma with lyut pratyay. So pra plus ma plus lyut pratyay, that is in the Shabda Kalpadru, the word pramana has been derived, and it is the meaning that pramiyate anen iti pramanam, that is from which we are getting knowledge, that is known as pramana. Various definitions of the pramana you are getting in your Padarth Vigyan textbooks. Yatharthanubhava prama tat sadhanancha pramanam. That is, whatever is the real experience or intellect, that is known as prama, and sadhan, tat sadhanam, that is the tool for that, is praman. Artha, that is vishaya, that is subject or the object of the indriya. The word meaning of arth is object here for the indriya. Upalabdhi, getting knowledge of some object. The cause, hetu is the cause. So the cause for the knowledge of object by indriya is known as pramana. That is arthopalabdhi hetuhu pramana. Pramata yen artham pramaniti. Pramata, there is the knower. It is not paramata. It is, I think, some technical problem is there. So it is seen as paramata, but it is not paramata. It is pramata. Pramata yen artham praminot. The pramata or the knower validate the things with which is pramana. So praman are the tools for validation also. Pramiyate aneniti pramanam. That is the commentator of Charak Samhita Gangadhar says. We have seen already this meaning. So praman is a tool through which true knowledge is achieved. As I said in the Ayurveda, the word pariksha has been used, and there is a difference between pariksha and praman. As the first definition of the praman, the praman is a sadhana or tool, while the pariksha is the process. Parikshate vyavasthapyate, we are seeing the definition of pariksha here. That is parikshate vyavasthapyate vastu swarupam anaya iti pariksha. So it is a process. The meaning of the pariksha is the tool with which the nature of the substance, vastu swarupam, is examined. Investigation. We are discriminating the things, or we are fixing the form of the particular thing, the nature of the particular thing, by which means, by which process. That process is known as pariksha. So the pariksha is the process, praman is tool or the sadhan. Pariksha prakriya hai, praman uska ek sadhan hai. So this is the difference between the word pariksha and pramana. And pariksha word has been used many times in the Ayurveda. If you go through the literature of Ayurveda, particularly the Charak Samhita, you are getting many kind of the pariksha over there. That is, in the Ashtanga Hridaya Sutrasthana first chapter, you are getting the two type of the pariksha. There is the Roga Pariksha and the Rogi Pariksha. Again, in the other things, in the Rog Vigyan, you are getting the information about the Dashavidya Pariksha, that is Prakrutitaha, Vikrutitaha, Sartaha, Sanataha, etc. Or Ashtavidya Pariksha. All these are the Rogi Pariksha. Dashavidya Pariksha, Ashtavidya Pariksha, Trividya Pariksha. All these are the Rogi Pariksha. Apart from that, you are getting the list of Shastra Pariksha in the Charak Samhita Vimanstan first chapter. Shishya Pariksha, that is the examination or the evaluation of the student in the Vimanstan first chapter. Acharya Pariksha, the investigation or the criteria for the good teacher. So the criteria for the good science, criteria for good teacher, criteria for good student, even Bheshaj Pariksha, that is Karana Pariksha in the Sutrasthana 8th chapter, Vimanstan 8th chapter of the Charak Samhita. That is the examination or the criteria for the good medicine. Vaidya Pariksha, that is criteria for good physician. Everywhere there is Pariksha. In the Kal Pariksha is there, that is the examination or the investigation or the criteria for the season or the Kal, time factor. So in the Ayurveda, everywhere we have to use the Pariksha. At each and every step we are using the Pariksha. And all of you have to face the Pariksha of the first year too, that you have to remember. So why we are using this Pariksha, or what is the prayojan, or what is the aim of the Pariksha? Parikshayastu khalu prayojanam pratipatti jnanam. That is said by Charak Samhita in the Vimanstan 8th chapter. That the prayojan or the aim of the Pariksha is pratipatti jnanam. Now, what is pratipatti? What was the meaning of prama? Yatharthanubhava prama. That is the thing, the real knowledge of the thing, anything, is prama, and that is similar meaning of the word pratipatti. Pratipatti means yo vikaro yatha pratipatavya. The disease, how this disease has been manifested. The real knowledge of that process is pratipatti. So the pariksha's prayojan or the aim of pariksha is the real knowledge, to get the real knowledge about anything. The real knowledge about science, real knowledge about student, real knowledge about physician, real knowledge about patient, real knowledge about disease. to get the real knowledge, what it is exactly, how it goes exactly. That is Yathartha Gyan. And to get the Yathartha Gyan is the aim of the Pariksha. So it is said in the Charak Samhita Mimamsan, Parikshayastu Khalu Prayojanam Pratipatti Gyanam. So for this purpose, Pariksha has been described for many things in Ayurveda. Let us see. As I said, there are different type of, or the various types of the Pariksha described in various part or various texts of the Ayurveda. We will see this kind of classification because it is related to our today's subject. In the Charak Samhita Mimamsan 4th chapter, they said there are two kind of examination, Pratyaksham and Anuman. Vedam hi Pariksham Khalu Jnanvattam, Pratyaksham Anumanam, or Sa Aptopadeshena Trividam. So with Aptopadesh, it is three kinds. So the Aptopadesh is actually not the Pariksha like Pratyaksha and Anumana, but we are using it for getting knowledge of disease. So it is included as one of the Pariksha. So it is three. So in the Charak Samhita Mimamsan 4th chapter, earlier they have described it two type Pariksha, that is Pratyaksha Anumana, then three type of Pariksha, that is Pratyaksha, Anuman and Aptopadesha. But in the Sutrasthan 11th chapter, they describe the four kind of Pariksha, that is Pratyaksha, Anumana, Aptopadesha and Yukti, which is the special contribution of Charak Samhita. In the Sushruta Samhita 1st chapter, he enlisted four kind of Pariksha, that is Pratyaksha, Anumana, Aptopadesha and Upamana. So, concluding all these opinions, we have total 5 kind of Pariksha in our classics, that is Pratyaksha, Anumana, Aptopadesha, Yukti and Upamana. We will see these 5 today in today's session. So first is Aptopadesha. Charak Samhita always starts the chapter of Pramana or chapter of Pariksha with Aptopadesha. Aptopadesha, the word is the combination of two words, Apta and Upadesha, as you know very fine nicely. What means Apta? Apta is authorized person or the reliable or trustworthy person or resource. Not, it may be the text, it may be the another resource. Not always the Apta may be a person or a living person. Apta may be your text, Charak Samhita may be the Apta. You can consider it as Apta because it is the reliable or the authorized, trustworthy source of knowledge. Or if you get any of such kind of the website which is trustworthy, which is reliable, you can say that, okay, after all investigations, this is a very neutral thing which this website gives us or which this channel gives us, that maybe we can rely it or we can get some of the reliable knowledge from this resource, then that resource may be Apta. It may be text, it may be your parent, it may be your teacher, it may be your guru, it may be any of the person. But the important thing is reliability, trustworthiness. That is most important. And Upadesha is the testimony or its stuff. You know it better about Upadesha. So Aptopadesha means the statements or testimony of the authorized or the expert or reliable person. That is the primary source of knowledge, as I said earlier. Without Aptopadesha, no other source of knowledge can help you, neither the Pratyaksha nor the another thing. But for that, as I said earlier, that the resource must be reliable. And for that, there are some criteria mentioned in the Charak Samhita that who can be considered as Apta. At two different places, in the Sutrasthan 11th chapter and in the Vimamsan 4th chapter, we are getting the characteristic features of Apta. Or you can also say that this is the Apta Pariksha, that if this kind of characteristic feature you are getting in a person, that person can only be considered as Apta. So, what are the characteristic features and why it is mentioned twice? In the Sutrasthana, they have settled some criteria, some parameters. And in the Vimansthana, its application has been said. For an example, in the Sutrasthana, it is said that Rajas Tamobhyam Nirmukta. The Atma or the person who is free from Rajagun and Tamagun. That is, there are three gun, you know better, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So Apta should be free from Rajas and Tamas. Now, how you can say that this particular person is free from Rajas and Tamas? How we can identify such a person? In the Vimansthana, see the last part of the first sloka, that Nishpriti Upatapa Darshinascha. So it is the applied part of Rajas Tamobhyam Nirmukta, that the person who is free from Rajas and Tamas should be, or that person will be Nishpriti Upatapadarshi, that it will be, the person will not favor everybody, or that person will not unequivocal for any other person. He will not have, he will be neutralized always. He will give decision of the neutral things. He will not favor, we can say that he doesn't have the much moha to anyone or the anything. So this is how everything has been said in the applied form in the Vimansthana. So first let us see the characteristic features, that Rajas Tamobhyam Nirmukta. Tapo Jnana Balena Ye. How those person have get this status of Rajas Tamobhyam Nirmukta? With the help of that tap and Jnana. Yesham Trikalam Amalam Jnanam. Avyahatam Sada. The person who have the amalam, that is the pure knowledge of all the times of the past, of the present, of the future, those persons are known as Aptaha, Shishtaha, Vibuddhaha, Tesham Vakyam Asanshaya. Now this is also said in the Vimansthana definition, that Avitarka, Smruti, Vibhag, Vid. They have the Avitarka, Smruti, Vibhag, with Nishpriti Upatapdarshi, what I have said, that they have the knowledge, unequivocal knowledge, memory, the science of classical. They can analyze the things, they can analyze any event, anything very scientifically, and because of that they have a very good knowledge of anything. That pramanam, this kind of the person, if they are saying something, that is pramanam, or that is authority, testimony, statement, you can say, and such kind of the source of knowledge is reliable, and always we have to rely on such kind of person. So these are the characteristics of Apta. And wow, what are the subjects to be known by Aptopdesha? List is mentioned in the Charak Samhita Vimansthana 4th chapter, that the causative factors of the disease, the dosha, the onset, the location, the type of pain, the signs and symptoms, everything, the long list you can get in the Charak Samhita Vimansthana 4th chapter. That these are the subjects you have to know by Aptopdesha, that is by your teacher, that how this particular disease, what are the causative factors of this particular disease. That may be fever, that may be skin disease, that may be joint disorders, that may be COVID-19. That what is the basic source, what are the symptoms. If you are not getting the knowledge of this particular thing from your text, from your teacher, from your guru, you cannot identify that particular disease when the patient will come to you. So that is why the first you have to know the things by Aptopdesha. But you have to learn the subjects by your teachers. You have to read the subjects in your textbooks, in your Sahitas. And then you can identify the things in the clinic, in the OPDs, in the hospitals. Because without this Aptopdesha, without reading, without knowing, it's not possible to identify particular physiological or pathological state. And that's why Aptopdesha is important in clinical practice. Now see, Hemoglobin status, you can say that what is the normal status of hemoglobin? What is the normal status of body temperature? What is the normal blood pressure? These are the fixed. You know, these are the fixed figures. And if it is you found some variation in this fixed figures, like if the hemoglobin is less than 10 or if the blood pressure is more than 140, you can say that this is not normal. So the normal status of the body and all the values can be known by the text or by teachers, which is fixed by the of that particular field. And if we don't know that 98.7 degree temperature is normal, we cannot diagnose the jwara or the fever because we don't know what is the normal. If you don't know the normal, how we can say that is abnormal? So, firstly, what are the normal things that you are learning from your teacher, and then you are capable to diagnose the abnormalities. And that's why Aptopadesh is the first thing you have to know or you have to adopt as the tool of knowledge. In the disease condition, signs, symptoms of the particular disease can be known by the above mentioned way, that is by the text or by the teachers. You have to know the things that, okay, these are the symptoms. If there is a high grade fever, the dry coughing more in the night, if shortness of the breath, if any of such kind of the symptoms are there, you must say that it is indicating COVID-19. When I don't have the COVID-19, I am not experienced about that, but I read it from the books. I know it from my Guruji, from my teacher. So I have got the knowledge by Aptopadesha that these are the symptoms of COVID-19. If any patient comes with me, the symptoms, I must be doubtful about COVID-19. So without Aptopadesh, that not possible. That is not possible. Name of the disease, its nature, stages, prognosis, complications, all these things can be known only by the Aptopadesh. And for the treatment of the disease, the principle of management, what are the ideal drug, the dose of drug, ideal procedure, all these things, Apta or your teacher can say you. Because the Apta has the true knowledge that in this particular disease, this drug will be the best. It may be based on his own experience. It may be that your teacher got this knowledge from another Apta who have the experience, who had the experience. But this will save the energy and time of particular thing. If everybody starts from zero, we will never reach to 100. We have to accept that, okay, my teacher said this, I have to accept this, and I have to start my journey from that point. Then I will go to the further state. If I will start, no, I will not believe in any person. I will not believe my teachers. I will not believe my test. I will check all the things by my own self. And the knowledge is so vast that you cannot reach at the end. So to start your journey, you have to accept something from the experienced person, from the reliable person with Aptopadesha. So these are the importance of Aptopadesha as we have discussed already. Hello, are you getting me? Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so will I continue? Okay, everybody is there? Okay, because in between I got the message on my screen that meeting is over, the allotted time slot is over, and that's why I have just checked that everybody is there and I am audible. Everybody is listening.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay, fine. So this is the first pramana, and we have to start our journey of knowledge from Aptopadesha. In the Nyaya Darshana, it is said that Aptopadesha is Shabda. Aptopadesha Shabda. So let us have some brief information about Shabda, because it is there in the syllabus of the first year Padartha Vigyan paper 2. So Shabda has been defined by Charak Samhita as Varna Samamnaya. That is, it is the nothing but the combination of different letters. When a Shabda, that is word, a simple thing, that is a word. It is the combination of various letters, and it is of the four kind, that is Drashtartha, Adrashtartha, Satya, Anruta. In the philosophies, in the various sciences, the Shabda has been classified by various manners, and there are few types of the Shabda. The first is Dhvanyatmak and Varnatmak. Dhvanyatmak means just sound. If you listen the sound of drum, it doesn't have any words or it is any letter. So that is just sound. That is Dhvanyatmaka. And if it has some letters, it has some words, that is, it is Varnatmaka. So the drum, the sound of the drum or some music is Dhvanyatmak always, and whatever we are speaking is Varnatmak. From the viewpoint of generation of Shabda, it is of three types: Sanyogaj, Vibhagaj, and Shabdaj. When we play the drum, our hand and drum is being combined to each other, and because of that combination, the particular kind of sound gets generated, that is Sanyogaj. Okay, when we are speaking at many words, our tongue will get touched with different places of mouth, and because of that particular touching, particular kind of sound get appeared, that is Sanyogaja. Vibhagaja, where there is sound due to the separation of two things, like when we are talking pa, our two lips will be separated to each other, and that kind of sound is Vibhagaja. And from one word to another word, when it is produced some sound from another sound, it is Shabdaja, because basically it is for the spreading of the sound. That from one word, one sound produces the wave of another sound, that will produce this wave of another wave, and by this wave method it spreads. So that waves are Shabdaja. Viewpoint of meaning, it is Sarthak and Nirarthak. If as Shabda has been defined as Varna Samamnaya, if it is, I combine any of the 3-4 letters, Kacha, Pata, that doesn't have any meaning, so it is Nirarthak. But when I say Kamala or lotus, has the meaning. So Sarthaka with meanings, Nirarthaka without meaning. And 4 types according to Charak Samhita: Drashtartha, Adrashtartha, Satya, Anruta. Second one is Adrashtartha, what is said in the above mentioned shloka. Drashtartha, practically you can see such kind of the Shabda, that is, this is lotus. You can see that lotus, that is Drashtartha. Adrashtartha, which is true but you can't see, like heaven, Swarga. It is there but we can't see, that is Adrashtartha. Satya, which is true. Anruta, which is false. So these are the different kind of Shabda. The second part in the Shabda is Vakya and Vakyasa Brodhaka Vritti. Vakya is nothing but the Padasamoha. The combination of various words will make a Vakya or the sentence. And Vritti is the relationship of Vakya and its meaning. So we can get the meaning by 4 different Vrittis, which are known as Abhida, Lakshana, Vyanjana and Tatpara. Few words are there which get directly such kind of the meaning. That is known as Abhida. The direct meaning. You are saying this, anything, this is pen, okay, you are getting the meaning pen. Lotus, you are getting the meaning lotus. Human body, you are getting the meaning human body. So this kind of the things or this kind of the sentence from which you are getting the meaning directly without any another thing, that kind of the process of getting the meaning is Abhida. Lakshana, you are not